Hi, this is Zibby Owens, and you're listening to the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. I'm also the host of Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight, and I'm the editor of the anthology, which you should run out and buy, called Moms Don't Have Time to, a Quarantine Anthology. All proceeds of that book go to COVID-19 vaccine research. And I'm the editor-in-chief of Moms Don't Have Time to Write, a new publication on Medium, and we're accepting submissions, so please send your personal essays there. And if all that isn't enough, you can follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens, and my website is zibbyowens.com. Okay, now back to this amazing podcast. Sandra Boynton is the author of Goodnight, Goodnight. Sandra is a beloved American cartoonist, children's author, songwriter, and highly sporadic short film writer-director. Starting with the 1977 publication of Hippos Go Berserk, Boynton has written and illustrated 70 children's books and 7 general audience books, including 5 New York Times bestsellers. Her renowned books include The Going to Bed Book, Barnyard Dance, Snuggle Puppy, Blue Hat, Green Hat, Belly Button Book, Doggies, Spooky, Pooky, Jungle Night, But Not the Hippopotamus. And for grown-ups, Chocolate, The Consuming Passion. More than 70 million of her books have been sold, quote, mostly to friends and family, she says. Boynton has also written and produced 6 albums of unconventional children's music, which includes performances by Brian Wilson, Brad Paisley, Kevin Kline, Casey Musgraves, Blues Traveler, Alison Krauss, Meryl Streep, Spin Doctors, Davy Jones, Dwight Yoakam, Patti LuPone, Neil Sedaka, and Weird Al Yankovic in a duet with Kate Winslet. 3 of Boynton's albums have been certified gold, over 500,000 copies sold, and Philadelphia Chickens, nominated for a Grammy, has gone platinum with over 1 million copies sold. Boynton has also written and directed 12 short musical films, including One Shoes Blues, starring B.B. King, and 2 animated shorts, When Pigs Fly, sung by Ryan Adams, and Tyrannosaurus Funk, sung by Samuel L. Jackson, which won the 2018 Grand Prize for Best Children's Animation Short from the Rhode Island International Film Festival. Her most recent musical collaborations were 3 small and quirky projects with Yo-Yo Ma in 2020. In 2008, Boynton received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Cartoonist Society. Boynton has 4 perfect children and 2 equally perfect grandchildren. She and her late husband, a writer and whitewater expeditionist, raised their family on a very old New England farm. Her studio there is a converted barn that has perhaps the only hippopotamus weather vane in America. Welcome, Sandra. Thank you so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books to discuss, oh my gosh, all of your amazing work, especially Goodnight, Goodnight, which has recently come out in new form.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's so crazy too, because I used to read this book all the time. My twins, I have 4 kids. My twins are now 14. And when they were tiny, this was like our go-to. I'm not just saying this. I mean, I guess I could just be saying this, but it happens to be the truth that this would be the book I would read all the time. You know, now everybody goes below. Da, da, da. Anyway, I can't believe like now you're re-releasing this book slightly tweaked and it's the same book and here we are. It's just crazy.
Well, it is the same book. And I had thought until somebody asked me, oh, I loved this book in its longer form when I was little. And I thought, oh, that's right. It did have a longer form. I think that preceded the board book. So I went back and looked at it and it didn't precede the board book. It was 3 years later. But I was excited to redraw it and revisit it. And when I redraw a book, I try very much not to change it significantly, to honor where I was. So it's actually kind of interesting because I sort of go, oh, why did she do it that way? In other words, I'm looking at my much younger artist self and seeing it afresh, which is fun.
Wow. So you start, like, how did you illustrate these pages? Like what did you do it online? I don't even have the right questions for this. Like, how did you?
I don't have the right answers for it either. So it's actually pretty complex. I mean, originally, obviously, I drew everything by hand. There were not computers and stuff. And I do a mix these days. But if I'm redrawing something, I actually have to do it on the computer because I need to put the original page and a new page above it so that I'm really following what I did and redoing it. And I work very oddly. I just found out, though, that I'm not the only person. I use a mouse because I tried tablets and I didn't like them. There's a latency in them that I didn't like. So it's actually amusing for anyone who visits to watch now, me drawing with this mouse on my desktop looking at the screen. But it's actually kind of fun. It's a little bit of a brain tease to do it.
Wow. And then what about the writing of it?
The writing, I follow exactly the way it was written before. In terms of the typography, the great advantage of computers for me is I used to have to wait for it to be typeset. And by the time you saw it, it was too late to change it. And the great thing about, for me, in a sense, I'm now doing my own typography and my own separations. And it means I've gotten much better at it because I can say, oh, this would look great green. And then I try it green. And I go, no, that looks terrible green. So it's exciting. It's really fun.
Wow. Well, how did you start using all where did your style come from? Because it's so unique and so recognizable, and your characters are, you can always tell that they're like part of your family, right? A character that you do. I don't know if it's I know every illustrator must have their own style and everything. But how did you come up with this? How have you taken it through the ages? How do you keep coming up with 8 million book ideas that are constantly entertaining?
Well, fear of getting a real job is a significant part of that. No, in terms of style, actually, there's a quotation that my son sent me a while ago from a famous comic book illustrator. And I love this quotation. So it's now on my desk. I'm going to read it to you because he put it in a frame. Style is the result of the shortcuts and errors in an artist's approach. And so I think it's true I'm guessing it's true for other creatives as well. What you can't do naturally, you find your own workarounds to, or your own way. So it's not like you're saying, oh, I need my own style, I need my own voice. You're saying, this is the best I can do. And since I've met now a lot of cartoonists, especially, who are just remarkably skillful, and I'm just still not at that level. So it's exciting to see that people can do that. And I'm now glad that I couldn't, because I did have to develop my own style. And I started selling my own artwork when I was in college. And you and I went to the same college.
I was going to mention that. Yes, I saw you went to Yale. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought I put them up. I was a junior, and I created my own summer job because I didn't want to waitress again. So I had an uncle who was a printer, and he printed some of my artwork just for gift enclosure cards. There were no messages. And he printed them on watercolor paper. So they're just a line. And then I hand colored them all. So I spent the summer hand painting literally 60,000 gift enclosure cards. Now they're not very complex paintings, but still that's a lot. And I sold them myself. And so I continued to sell them as an undergraduate. And the master of the former Calhoun College let me put them up in the entryway in a frame for people to contact me and buy them. So it goes way back.
Wow. That's so cool. Calhoun had good lunches. I was in Davenport, but I had a friend in Calhoun. So anyway.
Yeah, it was a great dining hall.
Yeah.
It's interesting how these residential colleges keep their character through the years with zero overlap in the people. It's fascinating.
It's true. It's so true. Wow. So you started out with a leg up from your master in Calhoun, which
yeah, exactly.
For people listening, that's like the dean, basically, not a dean, but like the head of the residential college. They call it like the head of, and anyway, the house parent or whatever. I mean, it sounds bad now when you say it out loud, but anyway, so he gave you your start. And then what happened after college? What did you do next?
I actually went to grad school in drama.
At Berkeley, right? At Berkeley? Did I make that up?
Oh, I did. I went to Berkeley.
Okay,
I went to UC Berkeley, and I didn't especially like it there. So I finished 1 year, took a year off, and then I went to the Yale School of Drama, and I was there for a year and a half. I didn't especially like it there. And so I have the credit of having dropped out of 2 esteemed drama schools. But by the time I was at Berkeley, I was already designing cards professionally because I had met a company in the summer between college and grad school. I was trying to now sell my designs to someone else to do all the production and selling them to stores. And I was so lucky to meet the 2. They were very ancient guys who had started a company called Recycled Paper Products. They must have been 26 or 27, pretty good guys. And they took over the designs, and we were all so lucky. The designs took off right away. And because there really wasn't anything, because as you say, I have my own style, they just didn't look like anything else in the marketplace. And Mike and Phil, the 2 guys from Amherst who'd started the company, were smart enough to let me do white backgrounds on them, which made them stick out from every other card because nobody did white backgrounds. So I was really lucky. I was already established by the time I dropped out of the second graduate school. I was already in a profession.
Wow. And then when did you turn to books?
I actually been doing books since I was a tiny kid. I did my first children's book, which I didn't remember when I was age 4. My sister, my oldest sister, when she was in college, was doing a report on children's literature and on the way children draw. And she found this old book of mine, 4 pages long, and I've now memorized it. It was called A Funny Animal, and it goes, once there was a funny animal. He had a birthday party. All the animals came. They did not like it, so they left. The end. So it's a kind of a predecessor to Hippos Go Berserk. And that sounds like I had an unhappy childhood. I had an excruciatingly happy childhood. But I just kept doing drawings and writing. And I was lucky to go to a Quaker school in Philadelphia straight through. My dad was a teacher at Germantown Friends. So I went from kindergarten through 12th grade. And the arts were the center of the curriculum. It's an excellent academic school, but it's a really wise perception that strength in the arts benefits everyone in every discipline. So, you could be an art major at Germantown Friends. You could take the subject as seriously as history or as French and I took it more seriously than history or French, but they were wonderful teachers. And every year we had to do a special project. So one year it would be draw a bestiary, which is a book of imaginary animals. And that actually was my first published work. I was 15 and it was up in the halls of the school. And someone from the Philadelphia Bulletin saw it and asked if they could publish a page highlighting the book. So that was my first published work. I made $40 whole from that.
Wow. God,
yeah.
Hard to spend all in one place. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And have you always wanted to gear your work towards kids? I mean, I know some of not everything is, right? You have so many brand extensions that you've done and calendar, but is that playful? Did you always know that you wanted to center things that way?
I don't think my work is just geared at kids. I think at all. I think part of the appeal of my children's books and the music that I've done is that they're not condescending and they're just appealing to people.
Yeah, very.
So and my greeting cards weren't for children at all. So where I first, became known for cards, it was just humor. So I think, people sort of say, so what's your profession? And I tend to say I'm a cartoonist. And, I wrote a book a long time ago, Chocolate, the Consuming Passion. It's a complete send up. It's actually a scholarly study of chocolate, but done in a very humorous way. So it has the same, it's funny that people now see my characters and they say these are for kids because they didn't see them that way. And it's also funny that when I've done a book that isn't for children, that's humor for adults, it often gets put in the kids section and people misread it as being for children. So I think the connotation has come with the later success of the books. And then I don't think it was always there.
Okay. I'm sorry. I feel like I offended you with the question. Because in my mind, obviously as an adult, I consume what you do as well. And there is always some of that to every children's book anyway.
Oh my goodness.
I just view you
didn't offend me in the least. Okay. No, it's a legitimate question. No, I didn't. I hope I didn't sound prickly because it didn't.
No. I didn't mean to get it wrong. I think about just all the mini books and lined up on the shelf, and that's how I think of you. But I don't. Often that's not the way authors see it themselves. So anyway.
Oh, well, I certainly know I'm known as a children's book art, and I'm proud to be, a children's book author. Who wouldn't be? So no,
Okay, all right.
what you said makes absolute sense.
Okay. Well, yeah, tell me about moving into the music side of things. And by the way, I can't tell you how many times I've tried to, because a lot of the books have little musical notes, to encourage the reader to sing them. So I've made up so many songs, based on the words that are so bad, by the way. Anyway, how did you get into that part?
Oh, well, I have 4 children, as you do. And when my youngest was 6 and went off to a full day of school, finally, something I had always wanted to do and couldn't with a young child at home was to try to do something about the children's, I don't know how to say this diplomatically, do something about children's music. I wanted to do music that I would like to listen to with my children and that wasn't condescending and wasn't cutesy and wasn't difficult for me. I wanted to do something that parents wouldn't leave the room when it was on. And I still hear from people like on social media, people who say their kids are long gone and they put the album on in the car, and like to listen to it. And that matters a lot. So, just to follow the sense that, I'm trying to work for all ages, but not exactly consciously. I guess it's mostly because I'm the first audience for them. So I'm just first and foremost doing them for me.
Well, there's definitely something super joyful with like this sense of humor in everything. And it kind of reminds you not to take life so seriously. I feel like that's like the message. I don't know if you feel like there's a message, but
I think so. I don't know. I read not that long ago, but it's now probably 15 years ago, the quotation I'd never seen, all art is self-portrait, and it's attributed to various people. And that startled me when I saw it. And I go, okay, let me look at my artwork. And I was actually pleased. I said, okay, I'm pleased with this self-portrait, because I am by nature optimistic and playful, a little skeptical. But you can see that in my animals. Their expressions are usually not, if they have a big smile on their face, it's usually a little bit panicked looking. So, we're all in the human condition, I guess. And I think seeing the bright side of things, I think, is important without it being inauthentic. And that's important to me. Authenticity is a very important thing to me, that you're not strategizing your message, that you're just trying to be, I'm just trying to be my truest, my truest better self, not my truest self.
I love that. So do you still like all day long work on craft? Like, tell me, like, how does work fit into life? Which parts of it are you most focused on now? Like, how do you divide all your time?
Oh, if you asked anyone who knew me, they'd say, I'm never, including my children, now that my children aren't home anymore. And my husband died 7 years ago.
I saw that. I'm so sorry.
Which is, it's really hard. We were very happy, and we were a good team. And so I tend to work a little, people would say compulsively. It's just where I can find comfort and meaning. So I can work, and I have a ridiculous capacity for work. So I can work, 12 to 15 hours a day, and enjoy it. I mean, right now I'm working on not one, but 3 calendars for 2023, which is very disorienting in time. Because when someone says, can you believe it's already September 2021? I'm going, really? It's only 2021? And it's a lot of work, and I like the detail of it. I'm kind of a process person. It's why I loved being in a recording studio. I produced all the songs that are on the albums, and I loved being in a recording studio. And in a sense, the theater director that I thought I was going to become, I was able to become by going into the recording studios. And I think I've done, 75 sessions, maybe more, and it's exhilarating. It's my favorite place to be.
Sometimes it's just really nice having someone tell you what to do.
Yes.
Like, if I could just wake up, could someone just like tell me what to do today? Pick out my outfit. Like, could I just like go back to that for just a minute? That would be nice.
When you find that person, could you loan them to me for just a little bit?
I guess we could share this person. I'll think about it.
Okay, good. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, there is something comforting to that. Well, I'm really sorry about your loss, and I read that your husband had cancer, and that must have just been the worst. I don't know.
It was the worst, and he was an athlete, and he was obsessive about his health and his fitness, and just the kindest person you'd ever want to meet. And there's no making sense of it. So there it is.
And so, what do you do on the hardest days? Like when the days you feel like knocked off your feet?
I draw. The writing of music is really, really helps. And sometimes, I wrote a song, serious, not kids song, called Bethlehem Lullaby last Christmas time. Just suddenly wanted to write it. And I got in touch with Mike Ford, who's the wonderful pianist and computer genius and everything that we've done all our albums together. And I said, I want to do this, and there's no time. And then I asked my daughter, and we're all in separate places. This is last, I guess it was the end, maybe early December, end of November. And we did it remotely and put it together. And then I did it as a simple animation. And my skills are very primitive animation. And it's one of the things I'm most proud of that I've done.
Wow. That's amazing. Do you ever write in long form, like to tell a whole story? Like, would you ever write about what happened, or like, does that help you, or is it more the visual or the song or the audio or
long form doesn't seem to be my strength. I mean, even as a student, if there was a 20-page paper, I go, how would you fill 20 pages? And whereas other people say, wait, really, how am I going to keep it to 20 pages? So I seem to be a miniaturist, and that's fine with me. It does mean I can grasp what I've written or drawn. I can't imagine being a novelist. I can't. How do you know where you are? When you then go to fix it? How do you know? You can't see the whole shape of it. You can't experience it as one thing. Whereas with music or with a drawing or with a 11 spread book, you can perceive the whole thing.
Wow. So now at this point of your life and career and everything else, like what advice would you have for an aspiring author or an aspiring illustrator or somebody who wants to get out there and make a difference with what they're doing in this world?
Well, I wish I had advice because, for one thing, the world has changed. So the publishing world has changed so much. I don't understand it. And of course, I'm not trying to get started now, so I don't know what people would do. But really, my advice, and it sounds oversimple, but it isn't. It's not know what you want to do. It's know what to say no to. That's more important. Know what you don't want to do, because your time is precious. And and the corollary to that is to follow your dreams thing. But most importantly is and saying no to things means you end up with more time and more focus and more room to figure out your next steps and what you want to work on.
What do you wish you'd said no to?
I've been pretty good at saying no to things. Yeah, I don't know where I got that from. Oh, my parents were wonderful. And as I said, my dad was a teacher. My mom was an artist. And they had 4 daughters, no sons. And I think, looking back, I think that was probably in that era. I was born in the 50s, grew up in the 50s, 60s. An incredibly important thing that their conscious and unconscious expectations were all on us. And that's of value. So that combined with this remarkable Quaker school I went to all the way through, I just had and I think people who went to Germantown Friends had a pretty clear sense of where they could help and where they were nourished. And that's the best gift I ever got, is that education and the family I was born into.
I could just send this little clip of video and they could put it on their website maybe for Germantown Friends fundraising if you want.
Perfect.
And then you don't have to, help them out the next time. You could just take the clip and,
That sounds great.
Okay.
I'll do.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
I'll send you the
I
video.
appreciate it.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for chatting. Thank you for just so many hours of time where you've brought a smile to my face on a darker day and made bedtime and bath time, all that stuff that can be so stressful. Having this infusion of levity and the sense of humor and understanding that you're still a person as you're dealing with the stress of kids has been really, really helpful throughout the years. So,
thank you so much. And, I don't know you, but my impression is you are very much someone who has a good North Star, a sense of who you are and where you need to be. And I honor that.
Going to make me cry. Yes. Oh. Thank you. Well, we do what we can, and life is short.
We do what we can. It's a great motto.
Yeah.
We do what we can, which is it. Yeah. That's all you can do. Do what you can.
Yeah. Well, I will be thinking of you in your studio 12 to 15 hours a day. I will be here for 12 to 15 hours a day.
Just call me at 2 a.m.
Totally.
We'll talk.
You can just text me. I'll just be in the same spot,
I'll text you. That's perfect. All right. It was such a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm really sorry again about your husband.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.